Good morning from WRCO's Morning Show. It's a sure sign of spring when we start talking about the River Valley Area Community Gardens. And in the studio today with us, Rose Ellen Schneider, the president, Doug Rouse, the vice president, and Marlon Taft's director. They're here to talk about the upcoming season already. So happy spring, Rose Ellen. Good to have you.
Spring, Phil. Thanks for having us.
Oh, good to have you. You were here a year ago talking about the season. Was it a good one in 24?
It was a good one. Yeah. We've had some issues with weather. It was kind of wet and then dry, but yeah, it was a good season.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
And you had a lot of people take part a year ago?
We had, I think it was 46 adult gardeners that were gardening families, let's put it that way. And then there was 25 kids, and then we had 7 junior gardeners. So we had quite a range of people out there gardening and enjoying the nature and learning a lot. So yeah, it was a good season.
All of those age groups kind of fit the goal of River Valley Area Community Gardens, right?
Yes, yeah. We want to make sure that people can get out and enjoy gardening. And of course, while you're enjoying gardening, you're growing healthy food. And that's more important than anything. We were just talking last night at our board meeting that there's plastics in this food now, little tiny microplastics that it's kind of hard to get them out of the food because you really can't see them. So who knows what's going on? So we try to get it out and get people to not use chemicals and to do more of the sustainability and the organic type of farming and grow their healthy food.
And you show that it can be done with your garden too, don't you?
Yeah, we some people learn pretty fast that they need to put compost on and they need to mulch and augment their soil. And if you don't do that, then you don't have the produce yield that you would like to have. So, yeah, it's a learning experience for people.
Absolutely. And even guys that have been gardening for a long time, you learn something just about every day, don't you, Doug?
Every day, it seems like it. Yes. It's tremendous fun to be able to, walk the garden and talk to other gardeners and see plots and think, wow, how did you get that broccoli to grow so well? Because mine doesn't look that good.
Isn't that the way it goes, though?
It is. Yeah, for sure. And so I think we all learn from each other. And we do emphasize, education. Of course, the Busy Bees program for the kids is clearly an educational program specifically for them. And then the junior gardeners all have the opportunity to have mentors to help them with any learning or questions they have. But then we also do some other educational activities for just the gardeners or more largely the community if they want to attend. So I think this year we've got a couple of possibilities lined up for looking at disease and pest problems. We always do a little introduction at the beginning of the season where for any new gardeners or old gardeners that want to review practices. So, are there some nice ways to plant carrots without having to thin them so much? How much should you hill your potatoes and that kind of thing? Just general questions and different techniques. And that's always a lot of fun. It's a great program to be able to share with each other the way we do things.
Do you have problems like I do in Sextonville with little rodents and insects and then wild animals?
We do. In fact, one of our biggest problems right now are the ground squirrels. They've really come in and especially things like carrots, they'll burrow and chew on the carrots under the ground, and so sometimes that can be a real problem because you don't see them at first, and then you dig some carrots and find out they've been chewed on.
Already half eaten.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So we're constantly looking at how to deal with them, but we have, of course, the standard problems in potatoes. We have Colorado potato beetles, and there is an organically approved spray we can use to control them. And we have lots of other pests. I'd say my other number one insect pest is the squash vine borers, because you don't see those, and they burrow into the base of the stem of squash plants, even zucchinis, but summer squash and other things. And then the plant starts to wilt, and you think, well, why is my plant wilting? And unless you know to go back and look, you don't realize that there's actually a grub or a larva at the base of the stem that's been chewing the inside of the stem out, so the plant can't get any water. So that's my one of the nemesis, I guess I'd say.
And sometimes it's timing, right? When you plant, I know it really was last year, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Of course, with our wet weather early, we definitely had some problems with root rotting issues, and then of course it got dry. And so then you have problems with things like powdery mildew. That increases the challenge a little bit, for sure. In recent years, I've seen a bit more root rot early. I think our gardeners are very ambitious, so we get some gardeners who want to plant really early. And for some crops, I think of green beans, which I really like. If you plant them early, they really don't like cool weather as much. But on top of that, if it's then wet, they're very susceptible to root rot. And so that can be a problem. And I've actually had that problem myself. So, yeah. So.
Well, let's bring Marlon into the conversation. They introduce you as kind of the jack of all trades with community gardens.
So to speak. But Doug and I were just out the other day looking at the gardens for this year and kind of planning how we're going to utilize space. We've always got new gardeners coming in, but if we don't, we convert those to use for the community food pantry plots. Along with that, we allocate vegetables and produce to the memory care facility in Spring Green, as well as the food pantry. So our biggest thing we try and accomplish or try and do is make sure there isn't any waste. So people that don't want to maybe consume or have too much overproduction in their own plots, we've got a free kiosk as well too that we can supply food for, as well as, again, like I said, the food pantry and the memory care facility. So that's one of our biggest goals, is to make sure that food isn't wasted and there's an opportunity to put it somewhere where people can utilize it.
Yeah, on the ground there in Spring Green, I would think that maybe it's a little sandy. It's kind of like Sextonville as well. What are some steps that you do to make sure that everything grows well?
Well, like I said, we use mulching techniques, some organic matter, be it manure of some kind. This year we're looking at getting a supply of alpaca manure as a source.
Really?
So, yes.
What's the difference there?
I'll have to let Doug answer that maybe as far as...
He's the alpaca manure expert, is he?
Well, we'll just say general manure.
Okay.
Wow.
Another title for you.
Yes, I'll wear that as a badge of honor. And I can't say that I expect there's much difference between alpaca manure and horse manure. In fact, I'm counting on it being fairly similar. But it's well-aged manure, and so essentially well composted. And of course, when you add that, you're adding nutrients to the soil, really some nitrogen and then phosphorus and potassium as well. And then the other thing is that it really helps the organic matter content of soil. And again, being sandy soils, the organic matter content naturally tends to be a little on the low side. And as you use more compost and then mulch, and that gets worked into the soil, you increase that organic matter, and that helps hold the nutrients in the soil, and it also helps hold the moisture, as well as making the soil more pliable so that it's easier to work and plant into and so forth. So we're big believers in adding organic matter, and again, the aged manure or composted manure is a great way to do that.
Plenty of water capabilities there too, right?
Right. We do have a water supply there that's supplied from the village that we're able to tap into at a cost, of course, but it's pretty minimal how we distribute it amongst all the gardeners and sharing the cost. So it's nice having that water there, especially in the sandy soil where it can take a lot of water as well, too, if we need it, especially last year where we had some pretty dry conditions, and it really helped sustain everything a lot better.
Yep.
I drove by there one night in the summer, and it was just a hubbub of activity. So, I mean, that's kind of your whole goal, isn't it?
It really is. People have different schedules and different times. So, those of us that are retired can spend different times of the day during there, but maybe some people in the evenings. Families might come out on the weekends as well, too, and make it kind of a family affair where you get the kids and the parents out there and attendance. So, you're right. The schedule there, you can find everybody there from early morning to when the sun comes down as well.
Yeah.
Indeed. Did you want to add something?
Well, I was going to say, our irrigation system, I think, is one of the things that I would feature for people that wanted to garden with us, because we do have good water supply. Essentially, every plot has its own separate access to a spigot, and we supply hoses. So that if a gardener comes, they're ready to go in terms of watering. And it's true that on sandy soils, you need to water sometimes, especially vegetables that take a lot of water, and especially when it gets dry like it did late summer. The plants are large at that time of year, which means they're using a lot of water, and that was the wrong time to have drought conditions. But it didn't really affect us very much because gardeners were watering. And it's also interesting to watch out in the garden. Kids really like to water.
Yeah. Water themselves, too. A little
Exactly.
bit.
Yeah. And everything.
Everything else, right.
But Doug is a big proponent of drip irrigation, so he's really teaching us and the rest of the gardeners, how to ration that water and make sure it's not being wasted. So we've learned a lot of good techniques from Doug, how to conserve water better as well in the gardens as well too. So it's a little bit of a process, but once you get it in place, it works very well.
Rosella, maybe you could tell us a little bit about who's eligible and kind of the time frame when we can start planting and everything.
Well, anybody that's in the River Valley area or River Valley area schools is eligible to get a plot at the gardens. We have been known to let other people come in. So if you're dealing with food scarcity and you want a plot, and we have plots available, we usually let people go ahead and garden. So registration's open right now. So if anybody wants to get a plot, I think Kelly told us last night we had 3 new gardeners in the last 3 days. So people are starting to think about gardening. So get your registration in. We have an info box, a red info box right on Westmore Street, and that has printed forms in it already. So all you have to do is grab a form and fill it out and then mail it in. And so we can get you registered pretty quickly. So we have 10 by 10 plots, we have 10 by 20 plots, and we have 20 by 20 plots. So whatever you're interested in doing. A lot of the newer gardeners go with the 10 by 10s because they don't know what they're doing. They don't want to bite off too much, work. So what we like to see is then gardeners go from the 10 by 10s to a 10 by 20 within the next 2-3 years, because then that's producing more food for them. So registration's open, and we'll get you a plot assigned. So yep. So registration will stay open until either all the plots are gone or the middle of June, because the middle of June is about when you don't want to plant anymore. Although we did have a couple gardeners come in July last year, and they planted tomatoes, and they had a pretty good crop. So, yeah, so a lot of people can garden year-round if they wanted to. But
yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
And you've been able to do some upgrades at the facility too, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. We've got a brand new shed.
Right.
The new equipment shed. We worked 3 years raising money for that shed, and we got it up last year, and we're pretty proud of it. And we want to thank all of you folks out there that stopped at our brat fries or at Prems or just donated or stopped at the caramel apple sale at the school fair. We couldn't have built that without the little $5 and $10 buying of the brats. So yeah, it was wonderful, and we ended up getting several grants to help us along. Compeer was one that gave us a grant for I think it was $2,500, and that finished off our fundraising. So we were just really blessed. The Lions Club did a spaghetti dinner for us back in 2022, I think. So that was the kickoff, and we got $6,000 from them that year. So yeah, it's been a community project. So we're celebrating our 10th year this year.
Wow.
So at our site, so one of the things that we decided last night was we're going to have an open house in August, and people are going to be invited to come and potluck with us if they want to potluck, or just tour the gardens and come see the new shed.
Awesome.
So yeah, it'll be a fun time to celebrate our 10th anniversary.
You gonna whip up some sort of vegetable dish or something, are you, to celebrate? Or
We could.
you'll have all the vegetables. Maybe a ground squirrel or something. Yeah. Ground squirrel stew.
Add a little meat.
A little meat in there too.
We could throw them on the grill, right?
We'll be back with more in a moment as we talk about River Valley Area Community Gardens on The Morning Show. We're talking about the River Valley Area Community Gardens today. Rose Ellen Schneider, Doug Rouse, and Marlon Taffs in the studio with us. Their 10th season. That's pretty amazing stuff. Let's talk a little bit about what gardeners you're looking for. You're looking for all ages, right? Even some younger gardens, Rose Ellen?
Correct. Yes. We've got a program called the Busy Bees Garden Club, and that is for kids ages 3 to grade 4. And they meet in the summer on Tuesdays for about an hour, and we have a curriculum, and they get to plant their own 2x4 raised bed, and so they can put whatever they want in there. We provide the plants for them, so a lot of them are planting tomatoes and zucchini and cucumbers and onions, and we encourage them to plant flowers also, because that's for the pollinators, and we talk that's included in the curriculum where we talk about pollinators. So we look at we teach them about soil, and we teach them about parts of a plant, and we teach them about flowers, and we teach them obviously how to plant. So yeah, they get a wide range. So registration for that will be starting to be out towards the end of March. So if anybody is interested in getting your young ones involved in that, in our Busy Bees program, you can look for that. So we'll be advertising that. And then we've got a Junior Gardeners program, which is for grades 5 through 12. And those kids get a 10 by 10 plot free to plant whatever they want to plant in. And we provide mentors if we need if their parents aren't gardeners. So last year we were really lucky. The last 2 years, I guess, the parents were gardeners, so we didn't have to do the mentoring. But it's really neat. We actually had this past year 2 students enter things into the River Valley School Fair from the gardens, so that was pretty exciting. I've been pushing that for quite a while, and finally we had 2 that went ahead and did that. So so that's really neat. If you don't start them young,
Right.
you lose some time there and some space. And so a lot of it is getting them started young so they understand what gardening and producing their own food is like. And they get pretty excited when they pull out, they get to dig potatoes. And last year somebody pulled out a radish that must have had about a foot long root on it, and they're holding it up, so proud of that radish, so they're pretty excited. It's really neat to see those young ones get excited about gardening. And we have a lot of people that return, so yeah, our goal is to move them from the Busy Bees into the Junior Gardener program, and then eventually, hopefully, into the regular adult gardening program. So
when someone signs up, they get a lot. I mean, you guys offer them a lot of stuff in return, don't you?
Yeah, I think our garden does a really good job of providing for our gardeners. So we mentioned the irrigation previously, so water is abundant, no problem with water, and including the hoses and so forth that are needed, as well as some education about alternative methods for using the water, that is the drip irrigation system, for example. But then in addition, we provide fertilizer, so organically approved fertilizers, and we provide the composted manure, which is a fertilizer source as well as being a source of organic matter. We also have tools at hand, so hand tools, hose and rakes and so forth. And then we have a rototiller that is free to use as part of the garden. And then we also provide straw mulch. And again, we encourage especially the use of both the compost and the mulch. And so really it's a pretty complete package. Well, in fact, then I should mention, we also typically provide some seeds. Dory Hardware in Spring Green has provided seeds that were left over from the year before. At the end of the season, they donate those to us, and then those are available to gardeners for free. So seeds, and I'll mention that quite often our gardeners will start plants indoors ahead of time for transplanting. And if you started a bunch of tomatoes, it might turn out that when you planted, you had a couple of transplants left over. So you can typically put those out and another gardener can get some free transplants. So that's the community aspect of that sharing. So it's a really, I think, nice system that provides really everything that a gardener needs to garden successfully.
You really can get a lot, even in a 10 by 10 plot. I'm guessing if you space it right, you can get quite a bit of food in there.
Yeah, yep, you can. And actually, I'd say it's fairly impressive. Now, there are some things, we don't recommend planting sweet corn in a 10 by 10 plot because it takes up a lot of space and would shade everything else out. But you can get a number of tomato plants in, and certainly the smaller vegetables, your onions or your lettuce, spinach and so forth, you can produce a lot.
Now, I used to hear that Good Friday was when you're supposed to plant your potatoes. That might be about right this year.
Yeah, this year it could be just about right. In fact, it came up last night in our board meeting that I'd like to plant potatoes. Typically, the commercial production here, they'll push into the first part of April if the weather's right for potatoes. And so this year I'm thinking the weekend of the 12th of April might be a very good start. So we'll see how the weather goes, but you can put potatoes in the ground as long as you can work the soil.
You don't have to worry about ground temperature then so much?
No, not so much. Just so that the ground is not frozen anymore, and is dried out enough you can work it, of course. But that's true for a number of crops. So, for example, you can plant carrots as soon as you can work the soil. And there are other crops like that. What else comes to mind? Parsnips would be an example. I grew parsnips one year successfully.
Not a fan. Not a fan, huh?
Well, it's a very long season crop. I planted early and I didn't harvest until November.
Oh, okay,
So,
right.
It just seemed like, my gosh, it was back in April when I did this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time to have in the ground. But there are other crops that you can put in early as well. Your spinach, for example, some of your greens. your sugar snap peas or peas more generally, they can go in April. So we get gardeners that are pushing it early, and for those crops, you can do okay. On the other hand, you don't want to plant tomatoes so early, and especially from my perspective, peppers. Peppers the roots like a warm soil. So I always say, you're okay into June to put your pepper transplants in, but we have gardeners that put them in earlier. We, of course, have to worry about a late frost, and we've had late frosts the last few years that have nipped some of these crops that are susceptible, so like tomatoes and peppers especially. So I've learned to not be in as much of a hurry as I used to be.
It's nice to get excited though, and
yes.
Look forward to the season. That's for sure.
One of the questions that people might have is, what do we charge for the plots? Doug just listed everything that we provide. So for a 20 by 20 plot, the seasonal fee is $60. So you can plant whatever in that 20 by 20 and you just pay us $60 and you've got that plot for the season. A 10 by 20 is $40 and a 10 by 10 is $20. So we feel like we're pretty reasonable, and that money then goes to provide the fertilizer and pay for the water and pay for the straw and all of that stuff. So it's when you start looking at other community gardens for what we provide, it's pretty reasonable fees.
Yeah, and if you went out and bought the straw yourself and the tools and all that stuff, you'd be spending a little bit more money than that.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yep.
You couldn't do it without the community, Marlon. You get a lot of support, don't you?
Well, we do, and one aspect of the community gardens is, along with maintaining their own plots, is we encourage people to volunteer for different tasks we have, especially in the community food pantry plots. So if it's maybe 2 hours a month, if they could spare to help with some of the planting and harvesting, weeding in particular, is one of the biggest things there, but collection of that there. So we've got just a lot of different things that need to be helped upon that we ask people to contribute a little bit of time during the month if they can, and sometimes they get their kids involved in it as well too, but it's especially fun on harvesting for the pantry day because we've got a lot of people there to help gather up the produce and deliver to the food pantry. So
do you have specific plots for the food pantry, or is it just the excess that people don't use?
Well, we do have some specific plots, but then some that people don't use. Doug, I don't know for how many years it's been, has a hoop house for tomatoes, and I can't remember, Doug, how long or how big that is, but we get an incredible amount of tomatoes out of that thing. I think last year it was over 850 pounds of tomatoes that we took out of the hoop house.
Yeah, it's just what we might call a high tunnel. It's something we put up each spring and then take down. So just a plastic hoop house, and we put about 45 tomato plants in there, and we can give them a little bit of an earlier start because they're under cover, and we go a little later in the fall as well if we're lucky. So that's worked out quite well, and then we have actually. It approaches over a quarter, maybe almost a third of an acre of plots that are dedicated to the food pantry. And then it depends a bit on whether there are empty plots that we didn't rent as well. But it's a fair amount of space, actually. And, we produce quite a few potatoes. I was very excited last year. I think I've mentioned on the show over the years that there's some crops I really think I do very well at growing, like onions. I'm very proud of my onions. And then there are crops that have just been a struggle, like carrots. I don't know why I have such a problem growing carrots, but last summer we grew carrots for the food pantry that were really pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. So I was very happy with that. And of course, carrots are a really nice produce to take to the food pantry. Everybody, I think, likes to have carrots for stews and soups, if nothing else. So that was good. We also had a good year for sweet potatoes for the food pantry this last year. I don't remember the numbers, but it had to be in the order of maybe 400 pounds of sweet potatoes we donated to the food pantry. So that's not bad. Actually, the carrots I think amounted to maybe 150 pounds or so. So that wasn't too bad either. I'll say this year I'm hoping we expand a bit actually, and so help is always appreciated. But I think we have the potential to expand a fair amount. We also produce a lot of summer squash because that's easy. Actually, last year, for whatever reason, we did quite a few peppers, so just bell peppers for the food pantry. So that was nice. And then we do some broccoli and cauliflower and so forth. We struggle a bit with, we try to do spring-grown broccoli, cauliflower from transplants, and of course those are cool season crops, and so planting those and then getting them to harvest before it gets too hot can be an issue because they don't really like the heat. And so I think that's why we've struggled a bit. But we do produce them. And then we also try to do a fall planting so that we have broccoli and cauliflower in the fall. And that crop typically has come out actually quite well for us. Of course, we have to deal with the insects, the cabbage loopers. And because we're trying to be organic in terms of our practices, we can't promise that there wouldn't be a cabbage looper lurking inside a broccoli or cauliflower once in a while, but it just adds protein.
It's a good way to look at it. Well, I think it's a great thing that you guys do to provide to nursing homes and assisted living facilities as well. The excess. I'm sure that the residents love that stuff.
Absolutely. And just to give you a perspective on what we did last year as far as supply. Last year we donated 1,346 pounds to the Spring Green Food Pantry, wow. 215 pounds to the Meadows Assisted Living, and 334 pounds to the on-site free kiosk as well too. So again, just to reiterate what we want to make sure is we're not wasting anything and really feel a sense of community being able to deliver to those facilities.
That's kind of why you do it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Not only for our own fulfillment in our own gardens, but for the community at large.
Yeah, and those figures don't include produce that gardeners themselves might have excess of in their plots. So, for example, the classic is zucchinis. If you grow zucchinis, it's not unusual to have more than you can actually consume yourself, and so individual gardeners will put zucchinis or whatever extra produce they have out in the kiosk as well, which is kind of nice because otherwise, people might be throwing that produce away, which would be a shame.
Mm-hmm.
So,
one thing I'd like to emphasize, we've talked a lot about the gardening aspect of it. I want to emphasize the community aspect of it because some of my best friends I've gotten to know through the garden, and we have quite a community that's developed with the people that are there, and it's just really neat to have those people to interact with and to see not only at the garden but downtown. Most of those people that are out there originally over the 10 years, I didn't know them. And so over the last 10 years, I've got to know quite a lot of people, and we have some really neat people, and it is a sense of community that develops with everybody.
It's a good way to meet your neighbors, then.
Yes, it's a very good way to meet your neighbors.
And the other thing is, we were talking too, what a great thing for grandparents to maybe take their grandkids out there and help
Yes.
them learn.
Yeah, and the garden's wide open. There's no fence, so we have people that do their daily walk through there. To check to see what's going on, and people will stop and they'll just take a walk through, and visitors to the community will stop. And we had one day we had people come over from the Round Barn that were from Kentucky, and they wanted to see what was going on at the gardens. What was this? And so yeah, it's just amazing to the people that you meet, and you get to touch their lives, and they touch yours.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a shelter out there as well too, so people take advantage of the shelter that we have, where we have picnic tables and some chairs and around that. So if you want to bring out some food or something like that, people just like to take a break out there, bring a portable chair out there just to sit and take in the view. The trees are starting to get bigger and bigger there as well too. So it makes for a nice environment, a very calming and relaxing experience.
It's a great way to watch, great place to watch the sunset too.
Oh, sure.
It's wide open there, so yeah, it's just beautiful. And some of us have even gone out there to watch for meteor showers and things. So yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, not a lot of light pollution when you get over there, too.
Not too much, although we understand there's some buildings that are going to go up on the north side of us, so that may change in the next few months. But yeah, right now it's just really nice.
Great. And the land belongs to the village, or how does that work, Doug?
Yeah, so the land is the village's, and so they've provided it for us to use. They don't charge us for the land. They, I think, really like the garden there. Now, I'll say one of the things that we were just talking about is the scenery there. I would say that garden is the most park-like community garden that I know of. I mean, we've got flower beds, we've got land to, put a blanket down and have a picnic at. We've got the picnic tables. It's very nice.
Uh-huh.
It's not just a bunch of vegetable plots crammed together. So that's very nice. But it just makes a nice community situation for us.
That's what it's all about. Anything else anybody would like to add this morning? Again, it's people can start signing up as right now.
Right now, you can text us at 608-588-6040. You can stop at the gardens and go to the red info box and pull out a form there, or they're also on our website at rvacg.org. And you can message us through Facebook. We have a Facebook page. I put a lot of planting hints and recipes on that Facebook page, so it's quite a variety of stuff for information for gardeners. So there's several ways to get a hold of us, and we'd love to have you come out and garden with us.
Well, good luck this season. Good luck with your potatoes there in April, too. We hope it goes well. Absolutely. And we love having you guys here because you guys are like spring. It's a sure sign of spring when you guys come in to visit us.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to River Valley Area Community Gardens members Rosellen, Doug, and Marlon. And this part of the morning show, they're celebrating their 10th season in Spring Green.